Today, we're going to talk about living every as if this is our last day. Now, you guys are well aware of the fact that I believe that every day is important. And so I want to remind you today that at the end of life, what truly matters is not what we bought, but what we built, not what we gained, but what we gave, not how successful we became, but how deeply we loved and how many lives we really touched. That's really what life is all about. I'd like to tell you a story today about a Japanese woman whose name was Kane Tanaka. She actually lived to be 119 years old and 107 days long. When she was when the oldest woman in Japan died at 116, the Guinness World Book of Records came to her particular nursing home in the Tokyo prefect. She at the time was living in a nursing home. And when they showed up, they had chocolates and soda pop because when they asked her or asked her caregivers about what she wanted that particular day, she said, well, I'd like to have chocolates and I'd like to have some soda pop. Now, it was interesting that she was born in 1903. It was before the era of modern technology in Japan. You see, in 1903, Japan was still evolving as a society. The Industrial Revolution had not really taken a hold of Japan. But in about 1906, after they had fought the war with Russia and had actually won, then what happened was there was a rapid revolution and technological revolution in Japan. All of a sudden, they started pursuing modern technology. And that's, of course, what happened. She said, we didn't even have, electricity back in those days. But she said after 1906, Japan embraced electricity and cars and all kinds of modern technology. She says, my life absolutely changed. Now, at the age of 18, she met her husband, whose name was Hoji. And Hoji and her married without actually meeting each other until the day of their wedding. You see, back in those days, Japanese families would get together and they would say, okay, your daughter can marry my son. And they will meet on such and such a day. They will then, of course, meet each other and they can build a life together. And that's exactly what happened. During their life together, they run a noodle shop, a place where people could come and eat. And she said, I spent many mornings, preparing the meal, the food for the day. And she says, my husband and I would then, take care of our restaurant during that time period. And they raised four children. And also, as well, they adopted one child as well. And then they lived together until her husband died at the age of 90. And then after that, she basically spent every day doing certain things to keep her mind sharp. For example, every day she got up at 6 o'clock in the morning and did her exercises, even into past 100, she would get up every morning and she would do, of course, her exercises. She would also practice mathematics, calligraphy. She loved playing board games and meeting with people because many people came to visit her because she was one of the oldest people in Japan. And Japan is a country and society that actually honors old age. And believe it or not, Japan actually has more older people than any other country per capita in the world. And there is in Japanese culture a honoring system for those that are older. My daughter, for example, spent 8 years in Japan, and I have been to Japan numerous times and have met many older people and have seen how that older people, people that are elderly, are treated in the country of Japan. They are treated with honor and dignity, especially by the youth and also by family in general. I had the privilege, for example, of being in the home of my son-in-law and, of course, his family, and they lived. They had a farm in Awaji, and the grandmother, who was 82 years old, was still running the farm. They had 23 cattle, which is a lot of cattle for, of course, Japan. They had several acres of farmland that the family farmed together, and she was the matriarch. And I'll never forget how they honored her and they loved being in her home. She had one of these heritage Japanese homes that were built, back just after the war, and it was really quite an experience for us to be there and to enjoy what was going on. Well, she actually, the Kane Tanaka, she actually, at the age of 103, survived cancer. That's right. She had a very tough form of cancer, but she survived. And when the Guinness World Book of Records people showed up at her house, or showed up, I should say, at her nursing home, they asked her, "What is the best day that you've ever had?" And her answer was simple: today. She said, "I have lived my life every single day to the fullest." And they said, "So that's your philosophy of life?" She said, "Yes. I live each day as if this is my final day." She says, "I know that because," she says, at the time, she says, "I'm 116 years old." And she lived another, of course, 3 years and 107 days after that. She understood, after her husband had passed away, that every day is precious, and every day is precious because you never know what is going to happen. Now, I'm going to share with you a little incident that happened to me yesterday. We were having supper at my home, and my oldest son, Robert, was visiting with his daughter, Sarah. All of a sudden, my granddaughter says, "Dad is choking." We had had some pork chops, and a piece of meat got stuck in my son's throat. Now, we only had between 3 and 5 minutes to eject that particular piece of meat. Instantaneously, I ran over, I picked up my son, and began to do the Heimlich maneuver. I did it about 5 or 6 times, and all of a sudden, the meat ejected out of his windpipe, and he had been struggling to, of course, get breath. In that moment, we recognized how incredibly life can be fragile. If we would have not been able to dislodge that piece of meat from his throat, we would not have our son with us this morning. It's as simple as that. Life is fragile. And it was the first time in my life that my CPR and my St. John's medical training that I have to take every single 3 years to be doing what I am doing had come into play. If we would not have known what to do, it could have been an incredibly different situation. That is actually the first time that I've ever had the privilege of saving someone's life. And As I was reflecting on that last night, one of my habits is, of course, during the summertime, is to go for a ride on my bicycle. And so I went for an extended period of riding on my bicycle. And I was thinking about the fragility of life and how that each and every day is a special opportunity. So that's why I encourage people to follow the philosophy of the grassroots. You say the grassroots, what is that? The grassroots were a musical band, a rock and roll band back in the 60s and early 70s. Actually, my first album that I actually got, that was personally my record and album, was, of course, from the grassroots. And on that album, there was a song called Live for Today. What the grassroots was saying in that song is enjoy this day. Understand that life is fragile. You see, the reality of the situation is this, and I'm not trying to be morbid, I'm not trying to be macabre in any way. You see, the only day that we have is this day. This day has 184,000 seconds in it. According to, of course, the UN, 1.3 people will pass into eternity today. There's between 184,000 and over 200,000 people that got up this morning and believed that they were going to make it. You see, when my son began to choke on that piece of meat, if we would not have reacted quickly, he could have passed into eternity. And that reality hit me really strong. And that's why I'm sharing this message with you today. Live each day and recognize what truly matters is not what we bought. It wasn't what we built. It wasn't what we gained. It was what we give. It's not about how successful we became. It's more important about how deeply we loved and the many lives that we touched. In one of my videos that I did today, I was talking to parents, especially parents who have children who have grown up. When your children who have grown up contact you and say to you, I want to spend time with you, that is a real privilege. When my son came to visit us a few days ago, I really didn't, fully understand this until last night and realized what a privilege it is to have him and his granddaughter with us right now. The privilege of yesterday when my youngest son came to visit us and with his son. And I realize now what a wonderful privilege it is. And also having people in our lives that care for us. You see, for example, in Scandinavia, they did a survey, and the service survey found this, that half of the people, 50% of grown adults in Scandinavia live alone and live a very lonely existence. Listen, if you have people in your life that care for you, that love you, are part of your life, enjoy them. Enjoy every moment that you have with them because you never know when that is going to end. I did a video today about, couples who, one day that person that you love and care about will be gone and the bed will feel wider. The silence in the home will be louder. That traipsing around in the home and the voice that you heard every day will be gone. So enjoy every moment that you have with your loved ones. Enjoy every day. When you wake up in the morning, you can be like, of course, that lady that I talked about, Kane Tanaka, and you can live every single day. She had routines right until the final day that she passed into eternity. If you have routines, follow them. And if you don't, start some. Because one of the things that they discovered when it came to people of purpose, They had daily routines. They did things that they did every day, not out of monotony, not out of duty, not out of routine. It gave their life purpose. And Kane said, when people come to visit me, she says, I enjoy every moment with them because she knows. And at the time, she said, I'm 116 years old. I don't know how much longer I'm going to live. Of course, she lived another 3 years. And when she did pass into eternity, the country of Japan actually had a day of mourning. Why? Because a woman who was born in 1903 had lived through, of course, the Japanese Russian War, World War I, World War II, the industrialization and revolution of Japan. She had seen it all and had done it all. And you know what? She lived a life well worth living. You see, that's what we need to do. We need to live a life that leaves beautiful memories in the hearts of others. I want to remind you today that if you have an opportunity to touch someone's life, do it. You know, it was Solomon who said this: a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in pitchers of silver. What I'm encouraging you to do today is be a blessing to someone. Touch someone's life. Do something for others. It's not about you, it's actually about others. You know, live a life that is going to be, um, people will remember. Let me just say this. People may not always remember what you said, but they're always going to remember how you made them feel. And that's important. So today, walk with love and kindness, walk with grace, walk with forgiveness, walk with purpose, and understand that your life does have a purpose. And even the smallest little measures of kindness can make such a difference in someone's life. You and I have only this day. Let's live it to the fullest. When I told you this story of Kane Tanaka and told you the story of what happened to me yesterday, it just emphasized to me the importance of this day. You know, it was David who said this: this is the day which the Lord hath made. I'll rejoice and be glad in it. The prophet Jeremiah said, the mercies of God are new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. David also wrote in Psalm 37:23, he said this. He said, the steps of a good person are ordered by the Lord. So today, allow your steps to be ordered. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what life is going to bring you. I want to tell you, good things are wonderful, but even bad things can turn things around. I was having a discussion with my daughter. She lives in the same community that I do. And about 3 weeks ago, we had a big rainstorm. And basically, what happened was one area of her home, she lives in an old log home, and one area of her home actually flooded. That happened to a lot of places in Alberta because we've had tremendous torrential type of rainstorms. Well, 3 weeks yesterday, I was talking with her yesterday, and everything has turned around. It wasn't easy for her for a couple of weeks, but everything is slowly turning around. It simply says all things work together for good. Doesn't mean all things are good, but all things work together for good when you simply keep a positive attitude, trust the process, and understand that this is not the end of your narrative or your day. Live each day with purpose. Live each day with optimism. Live each day with positivity, and understand that you and I can be a blessing to others. And let's make that our aim and goal today. Let me pray for you. Father, I pray today that each and every one who is watching this video today will understand that we need to live a life that leaves beautiful memories in the hearts of others. It's not what we give, or I should say, get, it's what we give. It's not what we gain, but what we put in the lives of others. And that's really what it's all about. Help us to live our life this day with purpose. Help us this day to understand that we can make a difference in someone's life. Maybe just that word of kindness could change the entire direction of someone's day. You never know. And if we have an opportunity to touch someone in a positive way, let's do that. And I ask this now in Jesus' name, amen. Well, again, I want to remind you that if you like what you're hearing and seeing, press the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I want to thank everyone who does, of course, subscribe to my channel and watch what I do. This content that I create is, of course, designed to be positive and helpful. So also check out my daily YouTube shorts. Every day I do a series of videos. I did some this morning, and they are always about 1 minute long or less. Encourage you on one or two thoughts. So check those out as well. My name is Robert Dean Steele. You have yourself a great and godly day. And don't remember, live a life of purpose.